All right, so about once a week I like to take a day off from working to go through all my equipment in a little bit more detail than my normal walkarounds, and just check out the normal wear and tear stuff, make sure everything's tight and working properly. I just wanted to go over basically what I've come across over this last week, just to give you an idea of general things to look out for, or things that I've encountered just in this last week of using this equipment full time. So we'll start off over here on my excavator. So over here there's a guard that guards the cylinder on the 6-weight blade, and I got a little 4-inch rock that just happened to fall right in between here. You can see those wear marks, and managed to wedge itself, and because of the placement of the boom and the cab, I did not see that rock there. And when I tightened up, or I angled the 6-weight blade, it bent up that guard. I looked up the price. It's about $250 for that guard. The bottom guard, although it's scratched a little bit, nothing more than just a little bit of paint and so forth. On this one, I'll probably take a torch and see if I can straighten that out. The little tab also got bent, so I'll probably go in and bend that back in place and weld it if it's needed. Unfortunately, there's not much that you can do other than just be more cautious when operating. Make sure that stones aren't getting into places like that, wedge themselves and cause damage. Other than that, the normal stuff, going through all the Zerk fittings, make sure all those fittings are there. I grease up the equipment every day and just do a preliminary walkthrough just to make sure everything's good. No real issues as far as mechanically. I did end up getting a 36-inch grading bucket on here, which this machine's running great, no issues. Still has a decent amount of dig out force, although I will eventually get a 36 with teeth just to be able to dig out a little bit quicker for the harder, more compacted stuff. But I've been doing a lot of material transport, and being able to have that grading bucket to do that is nice. Obviously everything's really dusty. Going through, checking the filters. You can see when I squeeze, there's a little bit of dirt that comes out, but this one's not too bad. There's only about 50 hours on this. I still need to go through and do the final drive oil. I just hit that 50-hour mark on this one, so I'll go through and do that. There's plenty of videos on there on how to do that, but if you're curious on that, I may be able to do a video on that as well. The other thing that kind of surprised me on this machine is it doesn't say there's a break-in fluid change for either filters or oil. I'm going to do one anyway while I'm here to change the engine oil and the filters for the hydraulics. My other equipment requires that, and for some reason it doesn't say that on the owner's manual, which I'm kind of surprised. And pretty much anything I've ever owned has a break-in period and a filter and fluid change out, especially on the engine. So I'll go through and do that just as a preventative maintenance, even though the manual doesn't say that. If anybody does have this equipment and is aware of somewhere that's been amended, please let me know. I'd be curious to find that out. The last job I was on too had a lot of rocks in here, and you can see I've got a little bit of tread wear from that. So I'm definitely going to be a little bit more cautious and careful about where I'm using the rubber tracks. Depending on how bad that ends up being, I might end up getting a pair of steel tracks just to have on hand for the jobs that I am working on more rocky conditions. Majority of my jobs I don't, but every once in a while I will get some. And I've been using the KXO for doing a lot of the breakup work with the ripper, and then come back with the tractor to move the material once that's done. So over here, just doing the general walkthrough on this. When I was taking the panels off, the bolts that were holding this front cover on, one was completely out and just sitting down here, and the other one was pretty loose. So just being shaken around and so forth, things come loose. So I just do a quick check on everything, make sure it's good. I check my water separator, make sure there's no water in with the fuel. The big thing, especially on the M62, because we are dealing with a lot of dust and dirt, you can probably see here a little bit better. You can see all that dirt that's coming out. This just got cleaned out last week, so I'll probably have to go through and blow out that filter. You can see some of the grass and stuff that's in the filters and the coolers that for the radiators. Other than that, you know, normal scratches, that type of stuff on here. The quick attach, the hydraulic quick attach on the loader is another issue that I need to spend some time, spend a few hours, take that whole thing apart and find out why it's binding. I oil it or I grease it all the time, and for some reason it just binds up. And it feels like seems like there's some play in that pivot joint on there. So I may end up hogging that out and putting a bronze bushing in or a bearing, or figure out what's actually causing it to bind up. I really like that system when it works, but when it doesn't, it's a pain in the butt to go through and try to push down the two buttons here to be able to release the bucket and then go up there and whack it with a rubber mallet to get it to free up, just to shake it. Usually it doesn't take much, it just takes a little tap on the side, but being in two places at the same time obviously sucks. Surprisingly, I've got over 400 hours on the M62, and the tread on the tires here are relatively good. There's a few little nicks and stuff on here. You can see there's a couple little areas where it's torn out, but overall it's been pretty good shape. Not much to complain about. This tire here, I did have a flat, and when it went flat, it rolled the bead and cut the bead, so I had to get a new tire for this one. So that one's going to look a little bit newer than the rest. But overall, the tires have held up pretty good. Obviously, on the valve stack here for the top and tilt, I don't know how many times I've taken that apart and not been able to eliminate some of the leaking there. It's real minor. You know, it just gets a little bit wet. But I've tried to go through and find out why that's leaking. That seems to always be an issue. The other thing too is the hoses here. I need to reattach a bungee because it wants to rub and tear up the shroud. So I need to replace the shroud here and then just put a bungee on here, tie it off so that it's not hitting the tire. And then of course on the teeth, you can see I've got a few that are broken off and a few that are about to. So you can see some cracking right there on that one. That one's got a chip out on it. That one's just about to come off. So I just go through these and replace them. They're about 20 bucks a tooth and takes about 10 minutes to cut off the old one and put on a new one. I've got other videos if you're curious on how to do that. Pretty straightforward, but I always have replacements over here so that as they break I can just swap them out and then get to changing them out when I get to that point. I'm actually pretty cautious about trying to hit rocks and stuff with this. I've been trying to avoid it. One of the advantages of having the excavator with that ripper is I can use that to loosen everything up and not rely on the rippers. Keep the wear and tear on the back end. Last thing I want to do is crack any of the castings or put too much force on the back of this tractor, just beating it up on rocks. It's not fun to ride, and it's definitely not good on the equipment, and want to keep it around. The last thing, I've got the trailer outside. Actually, there's two things with the trailer. One of which was I had a customer that was using this dually to haul the trailer, and I wasn't there to see what happened, but I'm assuming it probably was being backed up with full load at an angle, you know, jackknifed or whatever, and it side loaded most likely and caused the spring to shear off at the pin and drop the axle. So I had to do a field replacement on that, and then the jack for that trailer also bound up, so I'm gonna have to cut off that jack and weld on a new one. So a few things here and there. New tires for the trailer, just because the old ones, which were about a year old, were just crap, so I ended up buying new ones. So if you have any questions or anything else you want me to go over, feel free to reach out. The little mini U10, the little midget here, that one's I haven't used a whole lot. I've only used it maybe 5 hours in the last month. So it doesn't really have anything that needs any maintenance, but it's still going pretty good. And then my backhoe portion, I haven't even had this on in the last couple months since I purchased the excavator. I may end up selling. If anybody is looking for a backhoe for an M62, reach out, let me know. It only has like 25-30 hours of time on the backhoe itself, if even that. So it's almost in new condition. It's got a hydraulic thumb and been operating pretty good. So no issues with it. Since I've got the excavator, I find it much easier just to take out both pieces of equipment if I need and it allows me to switch back and forth and still use the box blade and all the advantages on the tractor. Basically the best of both worlds, being able to move a lot of material and being able to dig and pull material by utilizing both, and it saved me a lot of time and effort, and real glad I'm able to do that. So yeah, feel free to let me know, subscribe if you like this content, and feel free to message me and let me know. Thank you.